Welcome to this presentation. You are watching VLSI Design Lecture Series, and today we are going to discuss about dynamic logic. We know that static CMOS logic with a fan-in of N requires two N transistors. A variety of approaches were presented to reduce the number of transistors required to implement a given logic function, including pseudo-NMOS, pass transistor logic, and so on. The pseudo-NMOS logic style requires only n plus 1 transistors to implement an n input logic gate, but unfortunately it has the static power dissipation. So, an alternate logic style called dynamic logic is presented that obtains a similar result while avoiding static power dissipation. With the addition of the clock input, it uses a sequence of pre-charge and conditional evaluation phases. The basic construction of an n-type dynamic logic is you are going to use a pull-down network which is constructed exactly as in complementary CMOS, and the operation of the circuit is divided into two major phases called pre-charge and evaluation, with the mode of operation determined by the clock signal clock. So ratioed circuit reduces the input capacitance by replacing the PMOS transistors connected to the inputs with a single resistive pull-up. And the drawbacks of ratioed circuits are slow rising transitions, contention on the falling transition, static power dissipation, and non-zero VYL, and so on. So dynamic circuits circumvent these drawbacks by using a clocked pull-up transistors rather than a PMOS that is always on. The dynamic logic is a design methodology in integrated circuit design, and that is uses a clock signal in its implementation of combinational logic circuits. What you see here is the comparison of static CMOS, pseudo-NMOS, and dynamic inverters. So static CMOS circuit uses both NMOS and PMOS circuit in pull-up and pull-down network, whereas the pseudo-NMOS circuit uses the NMOS transistor to implement the logic function, and a single PMOS transistor with its gate grounded as a pull-up network. And the dynamic logic, whereas the dynamic logic uses NMOS transistors to implement the logic function, and the PMOS transistor is driven by a clock signal called phi. So based on the signal input that is given at phi, we have classified the modes of dynamic logic as pre-charge and evaluation. So if the input is A is 1 during pre-charge, contention will take place because both NMOS and PMOS transistor will be on. When the input cannot be guaranteed to be 0 during pre-charge, an extra clocked evaluation transistor can be added to the bottom of the NMOS stack to avoid contention. So the extra transistor is sometimes called as foot, and here this figure shows the generic foot and unfooted gates. When clock is equal to 0, the output node out is pre-charged to VDD by the PMOS transistor MP. During that time, the evaluate NMOS transistor ME is off so that the pull down path is disabled. The evaluation FET eliminates any static power that would be consumed during the pre-charge period. That is, the static current would flow between the supplies if both the pull down network and the pre-charge devices were turned on simultaneously. So this diagram and table shows the two phases of the dynamic logic called pre-charge and evaluation, during which the clock in pre-charge mode, clock signal will be in low, that is clock will be equal to 0. In evaluation mode, clock will be equal to high. And in pre-charge mode, if the clock is low, then if we don't have the need to worry about the input signals that is applied to the pull down network, and the output will be high. And in evaluation mode only, the logic function will be implemented based on the inputs, and the output is valid at that point. Okay. So for clock is equal to 1, the pre-charge transistor MP is off and the evaluation transistor MP is turned on. ME is turned on. The output is conditionally discharged based on the input values and the pull-down topology. If the inputs are such that the PDN conducts, then a low resistance path exists between the output and ground, and the output is discharged to ground. If the PDN is turned off, the pre-charged value remains stored on the output capacitance C1. and which is in the combination of a junction capacitance, the wiring capacitance, and the input capacitance of the fan-out gates. During the evaluation phase, the only possible path between the output node and the supply rail is to ground. Consequently, once out is discharged, it cannot be charged again until the next pre-charge operation. The inputs to the gate can thus make at most one transition during evaluation. Notice that the output can be in the high impedance state during the evaluation period if the pull-down network is turned off. This behavior is fundamentally different from the static counterpart that always has a low resistance path between the output and one of the power rails. As an example, if you consider a circuit like which uses a common logic function like this, during the pre-charge phase, that is clock is equal to 0, the output is pre-charged to VDD regardless of the input values. Because of the evaluation device is turned off during evaluation, clock will be equal to 1. So a conducting path is created between out and ground if and only if A dot B plus C is true. Otherwise, the output remains as pre-charge state of VDD. So thus the following function is realized. How it is equal to clock bar plus A dot B plus C the whole bar into clock. A number of important properties can be derived from the logic gate. The logic function is implemented by the NMOS pull-down network. The construction of pull-down network proceeds just as it does for static CMOS, and the number of transistors for complex gates is substantially lower than in static case, that is n plus 2 versus 2n. It is non-ratioed. The sizing of the PMOS pre-charge device is not important for realizing proper functionality of the gate. The size of the pre-charge device can be made large to improve the low to high transition time, of course at a cost to the high to low transition time. And there is, however, a trade-off with the power dissipation, since a larger pre-charge device directly increases clock power dissipation. It only consumes dynamic power. Ideally, no static current path ever exists between VDD and ground. The overall dissipation, however, can be significantly higher compared with the static logic gate. And the logic gates have faster switching speeds for two main reasons. The first reason is due to the reduced load capacitance attributed to the lower number of transistors per gate and the single transistor load per fan-in. This translates in a reduced logical effort. For instance, the logical effort of two input dynamic NOR gate equals 2 by 3, which is substantially smaller than the 5 by 3 of its static CMOS counterpart. The second reason is that the dynamic gate doesn't have short circuit current, and all the current provided by the pull down devices goes towards discharging the load capacitance. The low and high output levels of VOL and VOH are easily identified as ground and VDD, and they are not dependent on the transistor sizes. The other VTC parameters are dramatically different from static gates. Noise margins and switching thresholds have been defined as static quantities that are not a function of time. To be functional, a dynamic gate requires a periodic sequence of pre-charge and evaluations. Pure static analysis therefore doesn't apply here. During the evaluation period, the pull-down network of a dynamic inverter starts to conduct when the input signal exceeds the threshold voltage of the NMOS pull-down transistor. Therefore, it is reasonable to assume that the switching threshold as well as the VIH and VIL are equal to VTN. This translates to a low value of the NML, that is noise margin. So dynamic operation during pre-charge period, the clock phi is 0. So the clocked PMOS is on and initializes the output high. And during evaluation, the clock is 1 and the clocked PMOS turns off. The output may remain high or may be discharged low through the pull-down network. In pre-charge mode, when clock is 0, the output node out is pre-charged to VDD and the PMOS transistor NP. And during that time, the evaluate NMOS transistor ME is off so that the pull-down path is disabled. The evaluation phase eliminates any static power that would be consumed during the pre-charge period. This is static current would flow between the supplies if both the pull down and pre-charge device were turned on simultaneously. And in evaluation period for clock is equal to 1, the pre-charge transistor MP is off and the evaluation transistor ME is turned on. The output is conditionally discharged based on the input values and the pull down topology. If the inputs are such that the PDN conducts, then a lower resistance path exists between out and ground and the output is discharged to ground. If the pull down network is turned off, the pre-charged value remains stored on the output capacitance CL, which is a combination of the junction capacitances, the wiring capacitance and the input capacitance of the fan-out gates. So during the evaluation phase, the only possible path between the output node and the supply rail is the ground. Consequently, once out is discharged, it cannot be charged again till then next pre-charge operation. The input to the gate can therefore make at most one transition during evaluation. What you see here are some of the advantages and disadvantages of dynamic logic. Dynamic circuits are the fastest and they have lower input capacitance and no contention during switching and zero static power dissipation. And the main disadvantages of dynamic logic are they require careful clocking and it consumes significant dynamic power and they are sensitive to noise during evaluation. So there must be some trade-off between the speed and power dissipation of dynamic logic, because the main advantages of the dynamic logic are increased speed and reduced implementation area. Fewer devices to implement a given logic function implies that overall load capacitance is much smaller. So the analysis of the switching behavior of the gate has some interesting and peculiarities into it. After the pre-charge phase, the output is high. For a low input signal, no additional switching occurs. So as a result, TPLH is equal to 0 factor. And the high to low transition, on the other hand, requires the discharging of the output capacitance through the pull-down network. Therefore, TPHL is proportional to CL and the current sinking capabilities of the pull-down network. The presence of the evaluation transistor shows the gate somewhat as it presents the extra series resistance. Omitting this transistor while functionality is not forbidden may result in the static power dissipation and potentially a performance loss. So the analysis is somewhat unfair because it ignores the influence of the pre-charge time on the switching speed of the gate. The pre-charge time is determined by the time it takes to charge a CL through the PMOS pre-charge transistor. So during this time, the logic in the gate cannot be utilized. Very often, however, the overall digital system can be designed in such a way that the pre-charge time coincides with the other system function. For instance, the pre-charge of the arithmetic unit and microprocessor could coincide with the instruction decoder. The designer has to be aware of this dead zone in the use of the dynamic logic and thus should be carefully consider the pros and cons of its usage, taking the overall system requirements into account. Thank you.